For years, Detective Jason Brooks was the epitome of law and order. Known for his sharp mind and unyielding dedication to solving cases, he rose through the ranks of the police department without so much as a hitch in his record. His colleagues respected him, the department trusted him, and the community felt safer because of him. Born and raised in a small town, Jason had always been fascinated by justice. As a boy, he devoured crime novels, watched countless detective shows, and aspired to wear the badge with honor. When he graduated top of his class from the police academy, it seemed like his dreams were coming true. His career flourished, and it wasn't long before he was assigned to the elite homicide division. But beneath the polished exterior, something dark was taking root. It was during a routine investigation that things started to shift. The case involved a string of seemingly unrelated disappearances in a quiet suburb. At first, the victims were all women, all of varying ages, all seemingly unconnected. Jason was tasked with piecing together the puzzle. But as the days turned into weeks, Jason's obsession with the case began to grow. While sifting through old case files late one night, something inside Jason snapped. The adrenaline, the power, the mystery, he couldn't help but be drawn to it. For the first time in his career, he felt a rush unlike anything he had ever experienced in the line of duty. It was as if the darkness that had always been inside him found a way to take control. In a twisted moment of clarity, Jason found himself watching his first victim, an innocent woman, a mother of two, leave her job at a local diner. He followed her that night, his pulse racing, heart pounding with anticipation. When she got to her car in the parking lot, Jason made his move. The details were too horrific to recount, but they marked the beginning of a nightmare no one would ever suspect. Jason's cold, calculated mind rationalized his actions. He convinced himself it was necessary, that it was part of his mission to cleanse the city in some way. Every murder after that was more methodical, more refined, as if he were sharpening his craft. He knew the city's darkest corners, its safest hideaways, the places no one would think to look. No one suspected Detective Jason Brooks. He was, after all, the one who solved cases. The one who brought justice to victims. When the bodies started piling up, the community feared a serial killer on the loose, but no one could imagine it was someone so close to the heart of the investigation. Jason, for all intents and purposes, was a hero. But as the media coverage increased, so did the pressure on the police department. The city's mayor began to demand results, the public became restless, and the detectives working alongside Jason began to notice a strange shift in him. Jason's behavior became more erratic. He started working long hours, sometimes even volunteering to work night shifts, a move that kept him out of sight and allowed him to carry out his crimes. His colleagues joked about his increased intensity, calling him a workaholic and admiring his dedication. But no one truly suspected the monster hiding behind the badge. Jason used his position to manipulate the investigation. He fed misinformation to the media, framed other potential suspects, and, most chillingly, subtly steered the investigation away from himself. His intimate knowledge of police procedure and forensics allowed him to cover his tracks with chilling precision. As Jason grew bolder, his killings became more public, more daring. He began leaving taunting clues at the crime scenes, cryptic messages designed to mock both the police and the victims. He knew the detectives were close, but he also knew how to stay one step ahead. Each murder was carefully planned, a game in his mind, a game of wits. For months, Detective Emma Rodriguez had been leading the investigation. She was smart, driven, and relentless. She was also the one person who began to suspect Jason. It wasn't a specific moment or piece of evidence. It was more of a gut feeling. The way Jason always seemed to calm, to detached. The way he was just a little too eager to push the case in certain directions. She couldn't put her finger on it, but something felt off. One night, after another brutal murder, Emma decided to dig deeper into Jason's background. She found that his early career was almost flawless to flawless. There were no personal issues, no weaknesses. His rise had been almost as smooth, like he was playing a part. As she dug further, Emma began to connect the dots. The increasing number of unsolved disappearances, the odd patterns in the cases Jason had worked on, and the disturbing coincidences surrounding each murder. The inevitable showdown came on a stormy night. Emma had gathered enough evidence to confront Jason. She had followed his movements, analyzed his alibis, and pieced together the cryptic messages left behind at the crime scenes. But when she arrived at his apartment, she found something chilling, something that made her blood run cold. Jason was there, sitting calmly in his living room, watching the news. A report about the latest murder flashed on the screen, and he didn't even flinch. Emma's breath caught in her throat as she realized just how close he had been to the investigation all along. The confrontation was brief but intense. Jason admitted everything without emotion, without remorse. He explained in cold detail how each kill was part of a larger plan. He told Emma he had been chosen for this role, that he was cleansing the city in a way only he could. Emma, heart racing, had to think quickly. She couldn't let him slip away, but she knew she had to act fast. She faked an agreement, pretending to be intrigued by his twisted rationale. And just when Jason let his guard down, Emma managed to call for backup. Within minutes, the apartment was swarming with police officers. Jason was arrested, his life as a respected officer coming to a violent end. But even in handcuffs, he was eerily common, like the man who had once worn the uniform of a protector. The arrest of Detective Jason Brooks shook the city to its core. No one could believe that the very person entrusted with their safety was the one who had been terrorizing them for months. The investigation into his crimes uncovered a trail of horror, each more gruesome than the last. But even with his capture, there was one lingering question. How many more victims had there been? How many more were still hidden in the shadows, their stories lost to time? In the aftermath, Emma Rodriguez became a hero for her role in bringing Jason to justice, but the haunting memories of the case stayed with her. The city began to heal, but the scars remained. And for those who had once worked alongside Jason, the knowledge that a killer had been among them would never fade. Conclusion: the legacy. Jason Brooks was eventually convicted and sentenced to life in prison. But even in the confines of his cell, he continued to taunt the police, sending letters that twisted the truth, that glorified his own actions. His case became one of the most infamous in police history. As the years passed, Emma Rodriguez never fully recovered from the case. The question of how a man so trusted, so revered, could become a monster haunted her. But she knew one thing for certain: there would always be darkness hidden in the most unlikely places, and even the most respected people could be wearing masks. Jason Brooks had been a cop, he had been trusted, and he had been a serial killer.